Hi, everyone. I miss you so much. It would be so nice to be reading to you at school, but I will settle for this, reading to you right here, a book by an author that you may have heard of before. Andrew Clements, who wrote Frindle, has written another awesome book called No Talking. So here goes Chapter 1. Chapter 1. Zipped. Dave Packer was in the middle of his 4th hour of not talking. He was also in the middle of his social studies class on a Monday morning in the middle of November. And Laketon Elementary School was in the middle of a medium-sized town in the middle of New Jersey. There was a reason Dave was in the middle of his 4th hour of not talking, but this isn't the time to tell about that. This is the time to tell what he figured out in the middle of his social studies class. Dave figured out that not talking is extra hard at school. And the reason? Teachers. Because at 11:35, Mrs. Overby clapped her hands and said, "Class, class, quiet down." Then she looked at her list and said, "Dave and Lindsay, you're next." So Dave nodded at Lindsay and stood up. It was time to present their report about India. But giving this report would ruin his experiment, because Dave was trying to keep his mouth shut all day. He wanted to keep his lips zipped right up to the very end of the day, to not say one single word until the last bell rang at 10 after 3. And the reason Dave had decided to clam up? It still isn't the time to tell about that. This is the time to tell what he did about the report. Dave and Lindsay walked to the front of the room. Dave was supposed to begin the presentation by telling about the history of India. He looked down at his index cards, looked up at Mrs. Overby, looked out at the class, and he opened his mouth. But he didn't talk. He coughed. Dave coughed for about 10 seconds. Then he wiped his mouth, looked at his index cards, looked at Mrs. Overby again, looked at the class again, opened his mouth again, and coughed some more. He coughed and coughed and coughed until his face was bright red and he was all bent over. Lindsay stood there feeling helpless. Dave hadn't told her about his experiment, so all she could do was watch and listen to his horrible coughing. Lindsay's opinion of Dave had never been high, and it sank lower by the second. I'll try to show you this picture. Oh, poor Lindsay. Mrs. Overby thought she knew what was happening with Dave. She had seen this before, kids who got so nervous that they made themselves sick rather than talk in front of the class. It surprised her because Dave wasn't shy at all. Ever. In fact, none of this year's 5th graders were the least bit shy or nervous about talking. Ever. But the teacher took pity and she said, "You'd better go get some water. You two can give your report later." Lindsay gave Dave a disgusted look and went back to her desk. Dave nodded at Mrs. Overby, coughed a few more times for good measure, and hurried out of the room. And with Dave out in the hall getting a drink, it's the perfect time to tell why he was in the middle of his 4th hour of not talking, and why he had decided to keep quiet in the first place. Ooh, chapter 1 was a short chapter. What do you think? Why would a kid decide to try to keep quiet all day long? See you tomorrow.